I've been really interested lately in ecological dynamics and applying that to movement. So the one sentence thing is it's an understanding of organisms as complex adaptive systems where movement behavior emerges from the dynamic interactions of the performer and environment. Rather than movement patterns are stored in your brain, right? And let me learn this self-defense sequence, and then I can rep it, and now it's installed in the brain, and now I need to apply it in different contexts. It is your movement behaviors, all those patterns, all the things that we do in any situation is an emergent thing that emerges out of me and you and everyone in the context and the situation with our intentions. Okay?
Yep. So dum-dum. Technique not go in. Technique come out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Exactly. Technique is an emergent pattern.
What's significantly different about this idea versus just the layman term muscle memory?
So there's the different levels, right? So the lowest level is the traditional muscle memory is, okay, you do the reps and somehow your muscles store information. It's installed in the body, right?
I think that most people think of muscle memory that way. Yes. I didn't learn about muscle memory that way. I learned it as a subconscious reflexive. It's just the way you do things when this stuff happens.
That's the second level. That's like the one level better of an understanding, right? That's what I was talking about earlier. Then we can say it's installed not just in the brain, but in the nervous system, right? If you do the knife defense disarm enough times, it's installed in your nervous system, so you can just recall this pattern. Boom, he presents a knife, now I do knife disarm A. Where this really gets us, the intuitive thing, is it really brings us to this place where we need to approach self-defense and martial arts with tasks. If movements are emergent out of our interactions with the environment, it doesn't make sense to try to rehearse these movements in different environments. And so this is something we all have a really good intuitive understanding of. Right? If you didn't have this intuitive, like just by doing the stuff,
we wouldn't be good at fighting if we didn't already do this.
Exactly.
But you're just putting the terms to it.
Exactly. We're putting an understanding underneath, so that now, I mean, we can do all sorts of stuff with that understanding. It's important.
Sure.
But again, there's already an embodied understanding you guys have and have already experienced. Whenever you've done any sort of thing, we go to a different sport, right? You know, the Uchimata isn't installed in the body, and now you recall it on the sand. It's an emergent way that you interact with the other guy, and it's different on the sand.
Yeah.
So sometimes we screw it up, right? There are some other people, though, that tried it, and it didn't work on the sand.
That was me. I did that.
Yeah,
that was definitely me.
That was 100% sad.
I was thinking of someone else, okay? But with kind of just a basic understanding of that, again, you've already done this in self-defense, right? Like, we would...
So what I can tell you is there's no starker contrast than the way self-defense is trained, because I coach two different things. I teach two very different things. I teach self-defense, and I have to put it in bunny ears because the people in the industry are trying to get away from it. Like, fighting is fighting, right? What most people call self-defense. I teach that, and I coach combat athletes, kickboxers. And in those two industries, there's this huge divide in the way they teach these things. In self-defense, they teach, if you grab me here, I do this, and if you do this, I do that. And that's the way it was taught in seminar format, and like before we could watch worldstarhiphop.com and see how fights really play out. That's the way it was taught. You don't train combat athletes like that, or we're not supposed to be training combat athletes like that. Like, if he throws his hook this way, your hand's here, but if he throws it this way, your hand's here. It's just supposed to come out. Punches coming out, my hands are supposed to go where they go, whether I'm off balance, on balance, in the corner, out of the corner. I'm just supposed to know how to fight. And one of the big holes in the way self-defense training is done is they don't teach it that way. They don't teach it in a way that any skill is actually developed. You develop skill by reps, but they have to be reps that are non-specific enough, like it doesn't have to be in sand or on a mat or in the street. Like, your body should just be able to do these things well enough that you can do at least some of it no matter what the circumstances are. Self-defense is not taught that way. And it's not for a lot of reasons, which we could go down the rabbit hole of like student retention and money and just, but it basically boils down to the lack of knowledge, creativity, and courage in the coaches, in my opinion.
So like in normal combat sports, like the way that people end up really like learning it and embodying it is by like sparring, right?
Right.
And
Not in class.
right. And you can't really can you do that in like self-defense training? Is there like a way to actually like spar?
So if you're training the mechanics of punches, kicks, grabs, throws, takedowns, defense from bottom, defense from top, like all that same stuff, you train it the same. It's the same way. The biggest problem is the skill that's actually missing is the decision making, because that's, I think, ultimately what we're talking about is decision making subconsciously. You have to practice that. And the hiccup when it comes to self-defense is getting in the mode. When we did the stun gun thing, when you were in the mode, it was no problem. But when you weren't ready, it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. In self-defense, you have to train people through the scenarios, through the role playing, through reading the body language of bad guys and all that before it goes hands-on. Because hands-on, you train the same. I can dispel all the myths right now. Punches are punches, no matter where you are. You block them the same way. You move away from people the same way. You stop takedowns the same way. You break clinches the same way, whether you're on a subway, whether you're in a street, whether you're in a ring, you're in a cage. The mechanics of the way the bodies interact with each other is the same. The missing thing from self-defense training is that same thing, but done socially, emotionally, intellectually, like your decision-making and how you address a threat before they touch you. And nobody practices that. And nobody practices that in a realistic or effective way. Role-playing and scenario training in every course I've ever been to has been wildly unrealistic. People don't talk or behave the way that humans talk or behave, but you need very creative, very good actors to make that happen. So that's a big difficulty, but it's getting these guys to make those decisions under stress and in more fluid environments than if I grab you here, do this. If I grab you there, do that.
Yeah, the most realistic environment would actually be putting them in the environment where there's an actual threat.
That's why, like why you said sparring works. Well, you learn in there what works and what doesn't. But people don't want to verbally spar because it feels awkward.
Weird.
Yeah.
How do you think we could fix some of those problems? And what problems does that actually functionally create? And how can we fix it? How could we do it better?
The biggest one is the step one of every problem is just recognizing the problem, and it's getting jiu-jitsu black belts and tactical TEDs and ex-SWAT guys and ex-special forces guy to go, hey, you know what? I'm not really great at conversations. I'm not really creative. I'm not really good at that, but I know how to do arm bars good. Much like the big hurdle of recognizing that being an instructor is a different skill than being a practitioner, being someone that can create these training environments and these training systems is even a different skill than the person who implements them. So I think just recognizing, hey, I'm not good at setting up scenarios. Hey, I'm not good. I don't really know how people talk to each other when they fight. Or recognizing that your class is getting away from that. Like no one's doing the drill right. We could do it when it's shit we know and we're comfortable with. Like if you're not drilling the armbar right or you're not doing the blocks or the kicks right, we say, hey, that's not right. But when someone's not like being realistic in the way that they grab or talk to somebody, it might be hard to judge that. So first you have to recognize if you're not good at judging that. And two, it takes a lot of study. You really have to understand how people actually talk to each other and deal with each other, because they always start with,
Stop.
do the escape.
You're violating the law.
Right. And a lot of times these scenarios start with like, hey, come on. Like, hey, like what? And it doesn't immediately it's not immediately like awful.
Yeah.
Like this is, you're in self-defense right now. If I'm doing this, he should be doing something.
Yeah.
But he's had no practice doing anything from here. Yeah. Now, if I grabbed him by his head and started doing this, he has practice of what to do here. But he has no practice of what to do here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just uncomfortable.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
It should be.
Should be. I don't even have the wig on it.
Yeah.
I'm not as confident.
That's such a great point, because when I think about like tactical scenarios, self-defense, having no real experience in that world aside from martial arts grappling, like the real kind of self-defense the way I see it world.
Right.
I think about tactical information, right?
Yeah.
I think about it'd be like searching and like, oh, what's a threat? Identify this. But you mentioned conversation.
It's social and emotional literacy.
Right.
Yeah. which is a hard thing to practice. No one wants to do that. No one wants to do that. But if you think of each thing I say as an attack, and each thing I say as a defense, it's the same as sparring. It's the same as sport. It's karate. It's boxing. It's tennis. You know, I'm sending things your way. You're sending things back my way, and we're working with what we're sending at each other. But it just takes practice. I have a friend. He's has social issues. Specifically, took a job as a server to get good at talking with people because he wasn't comfortable doing it. Like literally to go get reps and practice of like just talking to people. But it only happened when he consciously recognized that he had a problem, had difficulty doing it, and then went and worked on that thing.
Did he take like the easy way out and go like a nice fine dining establishment, or did he go did he go to like Hooters?
I don't know.
Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah, he should go into the weeds.
Yeah. Go to like
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Denny's.
Yeah.
Waffle House.
Denny's. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's black belt. That's black belt. You work at Denny's and Waffle House, you're a black belt.
Yeah,
Waffle
right.
House for sure.
Yeah, you might actually have to fight.
Yeah.
So you're not even just verbally doing it.
How do we bring this back to like ecological dynamics and training?
So we've got a principle of functional variability and repetition without repetition. So when you're saying like he was a waiter, so he got the reps, the way we would say that, like every time, those are real scenarios, right? Those are real dynamic representative environments in some way, right? Like not every person you serve is like trying to attack you, but it's like a real not controlled scenario, right? Every time that happens, it's different. Even the same person comes in, it's a different day, different intentions. They're sitting somewhere else. And so he's getting what we call repetition without repetition, right? He's getting what I like to replace the word like repetition with is exposure. We still need volume.
Yeah.
We need a lot of exposure.
It's exposure.
But for instance, if he was, still doing the waiter thing, but now it's, you're going to be my test customer, and every day you sit down and I come serve you. And we do that every day. That'd be closer to like real narrow repetition. We're repeating the same thing or close to it.
You mean the way shit is trained now in most schools and gyms?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is where I think this is really important.
There was 2 guys in my division yesterday for the beach wrestling that showed up, and then they were put in their bracket, and those 2 guys had to wrestle each other. And that was the longest, hardest match out of anybody I saw.
Yeah.
And then they left after that. And they were like, well, okay. And then they just left.
They came together?
They came together.
Oh, they wrestle each other all the time.
And they said, he was like, well, we've been wrestling each other for the last 9 years, and like we had to wait a while for this match. I think we're just going to leave. And like you could tell that they were like unsatisfied with how it went. Like they came to learn something different about somebody else, and they did the exact same activity, but with someone they've already wrestled with in the past, and they found it not as interesting. Which I honestly kind of think is one of the reasons I don't practice jiu-jitsu super often, is because I don't love how it's taught. Like in order to have fun doing it, sometimes I think you have to know so much.
Yeah.
And the way you learn so much right now is by like kind of sitting through a lot of instruction of somebody standing in front of you and doing a bunch of stuff, and then you have to retain it and then go practice it over and over and over again. And it's just,
and then it doesn't even
while
work.
getting smashed. You're just getting smashed.
1 out of every 15 to 20 moves you might learn, you can apply like that day. But it's kind of rare, and then like you might not even be practicing a situation that you find yourself in super often. I can see your point in having the same person over and over and over again be your partner. It makes it at least, even if not more effective, less enjoyable.
Totally.
Yeah.
The research is pretty clear. It's less effective as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I was confused when ecological training first became like a fad. I was confused because my background is in teaching and instruction, even outside of martial arts. So when it started becoming a hot topic in martial arts, I was like, wait, ecological training. You mean the way that people learn things, that's always been how people really actually learn things?
By doing it?
By even how animals learn how to do things, like literally the way you teach people any skill. And they're like, yeah, it's this new thing they're doing in jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, oh, that's why I didn't like jiu-jitsu, like.
Yeah. Do you know who I think did it first? Maybe not first. Do you know who I think has like modernized this more than anybody?
Who?
kids martial arts instructors.
Yes, they just have games.
Games that sort of,
Right.
if you put a flag on a belt and you got to take it from you, and then
I have like an entire booklet of games that I refer back to. Some of them that are more effective and like actually helping them with something, and some of them are less because they don't accept anything other than enjoyable at least.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have to like trick them. So I actually never went from it from like I think this is more effective in teaching you. I always went from it as if I don't do it this way, I think I'm going to lose you. And every 2 minutes.
So why do we think adults are any different in the way that we're learning that stuff, I guess?
Well, because it's like, in that situation, with kids, it's like, oh, shit, I cannot teach them moves.
Yeah.
They will not sit still and
pinch your
learn it.
knees together.
Okay, we got to do the games because they're fun, and at least they're doing something.
And I think for adults, we've been put through like an entire 13-year system of sitting down and learning something and looking at something and then being like, this is how I learn it.
That's how you do it if you're serious.
So adults, well, I'm talking about like school.
Yeah.
Like the school
That's
process.
that's the
Yeah,
thought
right, like
process,
this
right?
is-
If you really want to learn it,
Right.
sit down,
Study it.
study,
Yeah.
memorize,
Right.
and regurgitate on the exam.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you learn history. That's not how you develop a skill.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not how you do math.
Right.
How do you do math? They give you problems and you work out the problems, and the problems are always different.
Right.
They spend a little bit of time on here's how you balance an equation, and then they start throwing equations at you and they make them harder and harder and harder.
That is repetition without repetition, right? The effect
Exactly.
of solving an equation, right? Okay.
You would never solve the same math problem twice. You know, like you would
pointless.
never have that.
No value in that.
It doesn't make any sense, right?
This happens a lot in sports too. Like, and I think sports do a better job of it than martial arts. Like in an average football practice, we would start off with, like some warm-up drills, and then we would go into maybe one-on-one drills. Like, okay, I need to take this step, do this, accomplish this. And then we would broaden it a little bit more, and we would go into, okay, it's us two versus these two. I have to block him. You have to move up to him. And then eventually it would go to insides, which is we're not going to pass the ball. We're just going to run the ball, and we're going to complete our assignments. And like we have plays, but they might do something else. I have no idea what's happening now. And it kind of increases in variability until eventually at the end of practice. It's pretty much like game scenario. Do you think that because martial arts are more one-on-one that we've kind of lost something there?
I think it's a lot of, well, I teach it this way because that's how I was taught this way.
That is true.
And the guy that taught it to me this way could whoop my ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was a jiu-jitsu black belt. What am I going to tell him? Hey, the way you're teaching this is wrong.
Exactly.
As he's beating the crap out
Yeah,
of
like, obviously not, dude. The scoreboard is a big helpful thing in sports. There's a scoreboard. You know whether you're winning or losing, even if we're just doing a scrimmage. When we're sparring, even rolling, and y'all roll at a significantly higher clip than strikers spar, it's still not real. So there's still always that lingering question, be like, it's not real. There's no objective outcome. Like this worked, this didn't, until you get to competition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what happens in competition in combat sports is, I observe this in MMA, as a striking coach who coaches MMA fighters, I observe this a lot. When a grappling coach critiques a grappling failure, like someone can't get up, he can tell you everything you did wrong. And you get knocked out, they go, sometimes that stuff happens.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah,
And it's like, no, there's reasons. And there's things we could have done, and there's things we could have practiced that would have kept that situation from happening. I think no objective scoreboard in practice is a problem. I think it being tradition is a problem. And I think it's just, again, a lack of creativity and courage on the part of the coach to do something weird or novel for 45 minutes instead of 15. Because I think there's still merit in teaching techniques. But you bring up the point about other sports like ball sports. How much time is spent, when you pass block and you put your hand here and it go like this versus your hand here and go like that. They'll say it, but it'll be like, that's a little bit of seasoning. Which way to do this? No, you got to make sure your hands up or your elbows in, or yada yada yada. Sure. It's more about the strategy and the tactics and when it's live. I think it's a matter of the amount of time that the coaches are spending. Pinch your knees together, pin the chin, all that stuff. Like, that stuff's important, but they spend 45 minutes on that. And there's no skill development done during that. That's knowledge, which takes seconds. Hey, you're supposed to pinch your knees together? Yeah, got it. And then when you don't, you're not going to pinch your knees together for your arm bar more often if we talk about it for 45 minutes or if we talk about it for 45 seconds.
You just have to do it.
You have to not do it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And hey, you know why you lost that? Because you didn't pinch your knees together. I didn't pinch my
So
knees
this
together.
is what we're saying in ecological dynamics. It really, like, to understand it from like the deep scientific level gives you this confidence to really like totally go about things in a different way. And so with that understanding, what we're saying is like your brain is not consciously controlling and telling your muscles and joints, here's how to do anything. It's not how you do the armbar. It's not how you pick up anything with explicit instruction like that or feedback. What you're doing is you're changing someone's intention, right? So you could say, pinch your knees on the armbar, and so now I can go do the armbar, and I could have my intention to pinch my knees together. The research is pretty clear. That's generally not the most effective way to learn things. It's pretty far down, but we could do that. And then the thing is, though,
If you want to learn more about ecological dynamics, check out this documentary I spent 2 years working on. Or if you want to see how it actually applies to BJJ, check out my fundamentals course in the link below.